build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20-plus fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
Welcome back to another episode of Over the Boards. I'm your host, Healy Parker, and I'm here with head coach of the Ice Pack, Tim Healy. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well, thanks. Hallie, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right, good to be.
Last time we talked, it was the beginning of the semester, so we're a little bit, further in now. So
Okay. And good color coordination today
yeah,
with the black
we did.
stuff? Yeah,
We really thought about that. I almost wore my sweatshirt, but it was red, so I'm going to save it for the last episode.
All right, good. There we go.
Just a reminder that Over the Boards is sponsored by Moe's, so if you want to give them a call at 919-999-3999 or visit them at 919.catering.moes.com. Got a lot to catch up on.
We do. It's been a while. Been a busy couple months.
Yeah, it's been since January 10th, so got a bit. So
we have some good and bad that's gone in that time.
Yes. So last time we talked, we were wrapping up talking about the games against Liberty, and then after that, you guys had a doubleheader at home against University of Louisville. The first game was a 5-1 win. Great game. You guys had 5 different goal scorers. What does this say about the diversity of your offense?
I think we've had that a few times this year where we've
Definitely,
seen a lot of different goal scorers. I think we did something similar against ECU, Cincinnati. So when our offense is clicking, we're able to have a lot of different scorers, which helps. It keeps it fun on the bench, gets everybody involved. And it's also means it's good to the future, right? Because that means It's not just our big seniors scoring. So in general, that weekend we had a lot of different guys score.
Yeah. The second game against Louisville was another win of 9-0, so still a win from the first night, but a bigger differential. The impressive thing about this game was Isaac Tollier in goal, and it was his first shutout in ACHA. What kind of made you want to change goalies from the first game to the second? What does this say about his future with the team in goal?
Well, Isaac, he's a freshman, so one of the things we really wanted to figure out this year is Isaac someone that can be our goalie in the future? And that question has certainly been answered. He's been consistent. Isaac, actually, of our 3, probably is our most technically sound goalie. His technique, to try and find something wrong with his technique, you'd have to be, pretty much an NHL level goaltending coach to pick apart his technique. It's that good. So we were able to, so by getting Isaac some more spots in the second semester, we were really able to answer that question. Is Isaac someone that after Griff and Eric graduate next year can carry the torch? And he definitely can.
Was it something about the second game against Louisville where you thought this would be a good game to put him in, or was it just that time?
Yeah, well, part of it was we wanted to see Louisville in the first night, give him a chance to kind of see what they had to put him in a spot to succeed. I think with freshmen, you always want to do that, start them off in a spot to succeed and grow from there. Did we expect a 9-0 eruption in that game? Probably not. Louisville's a pretty good club. The following weekend, they actually went and swept Cincinnati, swept Kentucky, so we remember them from the fall. Right. So, Kentucky's a good club. But I do think you saw in that game what we've seen a lot of teams when we play them back-to-back nights, whether it be Cincinnati, Liberty, Kentucky, Delaware. When we have a team on back-to-back nights, that second night, generally the goal differential is even more in our favor because we are a 4-line team that makes and tough to play against, and we can even switch guys in and out of the lineup to be fresher.
Absolutely. So after you guys had Louisville, you had another home game the following weekend versus Virginia Tech. The first period started out a little slow, but the second point, you guys were able to score 3 goals to make up for the 2-0 deficit. Why do you think the momentum changed in between the first period and the second? Was it, something that you said in the intermission that you noticed, like, hey, we really need to work on this?
Well, we've had slow starts a lot this year. And you're going to hear that theme, too, in another game coming up as you go down your list. And I think that has been a bit of our Achilles heel, and it really came out. And normally we're able to right the ship. I also think in that game, we had a couple guys out of the lineup, and we're trying to find some line combinations late, and we did a little bit of a line shuffle going into the second period that helped get some energy and momentum going that I think helped too.
And then the ending of the game was a really crazy ending. It went into overtime in a shootout, resulted in the Ice Pack earning a 4-3 win. Have you guys ever, I don't really know much about the OT shootout rules, but has that ever happened for your team before, and how did they handle that pressure there near the end?
Up at Liberty last year, we went to a shootout, and we lost in a shootout by a goal. And actually in extra rounds too, and this one extra rounds. So we do 4 and 4 overtime, and then you go to a shootout. Now the ACCHL does not recognize shootouts; it just ends in a tie. But overall win and loss records, and to be honest with you, shootouts, it's a little bit more of a fan thing. So for all intents and purposes, that game does kind of end in a tie. But the guys showed some good resiliency in that second period. I think they and myself felt like we left one on the table there, especially how we played in that second period, one of our best periods of the season. We kind of let Virginia Tech off the hook a little bit in the third.
Next up was a home game versus UNCW with a ceremonial puck drop by the Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brandamore. How special was it for the team to have him there and just to support hockey in North Carolina in general? Because we talked about this in terms of like the Governor's Cup and having that big crowd there.
Yeah, Coach Brandamore, he is, if you were to do a Mount Rushmore of hockey players in North Carolina that have come to the Canes, you could make an argument it'd be a Mount Rushmore at 1. Guys like Ron Francis may want to say, but the fact that he played here, he delivered a cup as a captain, stayed here, raising his family here, coaches youth hockey here. He'd actually, with his older son Skylar, who's at Quinnipiac right now, when he was in youth hockey, Coach Brandamore actually coached Riley, Colby. I think Ian O'Rourke was on that team. I mean, it was a loaded team. This guy Perry Winfrey, who's up at University of Maine, another guy who's at St. Lawrence. So you're talking about 4 or 5 Division I kids, some of the superstars on our team. And so Coach Brandamore, he was our youth hockey coach, right? So that was part of it coming back. It was a little bit like, his chance to kind of connect with those guys or Skylar's classmates and a bit of senior night there. We saw this with Derek Wittenberg when he came to, we said, hey, Coach Wittenberg, do you want to say anything to the team? Same thing with Coach Brandamore. They go into coach mode, right? Like you saw, as soon as you get them in front of the locker room, right? The guys are in the stalls, total coach mode takes over. And we got a really memorable speech for him, and actually one that went actually hockey viral. I had a former player of mine who is the video coach up at Edmonton. He screenshotted and sent it to me and was like, hey, wow, so it made it out there. But another buddy of mine who's the women's coach at UMaine was like, hey, can you send me the raw footage of it so I can include it in our deck? So it really went around. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
It was also the night that early action decisions came out for NC State, so that's pretty helpful too, right? To have that land there.
You thought that one through.
Yeah, clearly we're on top of that one. So that that helps bring it together. So that the timing was fortuitous, but the message was great, right?
Yeah.
Like that notion of anytime you're lace them up, you have a chance to do something special, and it's brought us something that we can kind of hang on to moving forward. So yeah, it was awesome.
I was going to say, I feel like that speech is probably what really did it that game. And I mean, watching it back, I felt like I was in the room there watching that video with him talking. So I know that was probably awesome.
And I think we've all watched, Kane's highlights and when he speaks to the team after the game and, kind of start walking. You see him kind of get into it. It just goes into that space. But, a big thank you to actually Amy Brandamore, whose wife helped set that up with Lauren Rossetto, Alex Rosetto's. They their managers together in their youth hockey ranks. So that's who really brought that together. So a big thank you to both of them to make sure that happened. But, remember, the Brandamores are a big NC State family. Amy's father was actually at once way back when was a women's basketball coach here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, before Kay Yao, I believe, is when he was the coach. So they're a big NC State family. So you saw him with the NC State baseball jacket. And I saw the Pac-9 jumping on the social media after. So hey, that's not bad company to be in either, right? So.
to be associated with that. Plus, you guys have had a great group of people to come before the games this year and give a nice speech and
Yeah, we had a high Phil come through,
Yeah.
and it's tough. After this one, I've kind of decided like I'm not doing that
can't
to anyone
top
else,
it.
right? Like I'm not doing it to anyone, so like it just would be unfair to do. So we're done.
Yeah, that was
So.
it. Well, the game ended with an 8-2 win over the Seahawks, a really big win, and it looked like everyone on the team is having a good night. So overall, big attendance too. So great game against the Seahawks.
Yeah, huge night. And that was one, actually, we were a little bit nervous coming out of the gates. I think the guys playing in front of Coach
Yeah.
Brendan Moore were a little bit nervous. But once we settled in, we really played well and took it to him.
Yeah, it showed. You guys kicked off the month of February with a home game against ECU, and the starting lineup for this game was a little different than others in the past, but it allowed for some new players to get a chance to get on the ice and get some experience. Philip Bailey scored his first goal, got to get rid of the yellow laces. He even scored a second in the second period, and then also Logan Todd got to get rid of his yellow laces.
Yeah, and Logan and Phil, for those that don't know, they were second semester admits to NC State. So we have a tradition that you wear yellow laces until you score your first goal. And if you don't score in your first season, you come back with, I believe, orange laces. We haven't had anyone.
It changes.
Oh, yeah. So
I did not know
we
that.
We haven't had anyone in my time here get to that point. So
It really shows the caliber of the coaching that you do.
Well, what it really shows is the guys really wanted
Yeah.
both Philip and Logan to get those goals and get those laces off. And Philip is, Logan plays defense a little bit different category. So Philip is really a high-end forward, power forward, and he's been a little bit snake bitten. So to have him get not one but two was huge and get that monkey off his back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if it were me, a tradition like that, it's kind of something to motivate you to want to get to score, so you don't have to.
Well, and they take it, and actually the team takes it as kind of like a team victory
Yeah,
to get
I
all the
would-
laces off.
yeah.
It's not just about that person. It's like, all right, we
They're
got
proud of them.
all the laces off. So
Yeah.
it becomes a pride point for the team too. But it's amazing when you get in between periods how quickly those things come out.
They take 'em off in the game.
Oh, they are
Ripping 'em
locked
off.
and loaded as soon as the period ends.
They've got normal white laces in their bag ready to
they're
go, just
ready
in
to
case.
go right off.
Well, just touching on them too, how awesome and rewarding is it to see guys like that get a chance to go out on the ice and prove themselves in such a competitive game?
Absolutely,
as
and
well.
that was part of it with the ECU game because it was non-league, non-conference.
Yeah.
A chance to we actually sat our senior line, so it was we didn't sit all the seniors,
Right.
but Riley, Parker, Eric, Todd. So really made sure we got our younger guys in the lineup to give us a look at next year and what the team's going to look like next year. And obviously and we had Isaac in that one. So 8-0 was the game there. So it bodes well for the future going into next year.
Absolutely.
Also had some recruits in the building that night too, so that was
perfect.
good. So and it was a packed house.
Good
so,
show out.
so
Everything went well.
Absolutely. To that point, everything was going well.
Yeah. Next up, you guys traveled to Wake Forest, which was the first away game since the beginning of January, so you guys had a nice stretch of home games there. The first period was rough. You guys had 4 goals scored by the Demon Deacons. Nothing really changed in the second period either. It was still 4-0. Why was it so difficult, do you think, for the guys to kind of get that momentum going in the first 2 periods?
Calling that first period rough was a little bit like calling the Titanic's meeting with the iceberg rough.
I tried to use a nice.
Yeah, I know. It was, and it really was the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Credit to Wake Forest. They scored 4 goals in the first 5 minutes on like 6 shots.
It was just, yeah.
And then, from that point on, we really dominated the game. I think we got upwards of 60 shots, but credit to their goalie. Like, we put an onslaught on in the second period. Nothing got through. We finally really did wear them out by the third, but we just ran out of time. But again, that slow start that we mentioned against Virginia Tech, that came back to bite us there. And that loss really, in terms of national stuff, we'll probably have to go through regionals now and not the auto bid to nationals.
Yeah.
And you really can come back to really that 5 minutes there. But that's hockey, right?
Yeah.
Like you got to play 60 minutes, and that's something we've talked a lot about this year, and we've struggled with that at times.
Well, as you mentioned, in the third period, you guys kind of got that momentum back, scored 4 goals, but time was just not in the favor of the Ice Pack in that game. What did you see as a coach? Was it the slow start, as you mentioned, or was it something else where you just felt like you needed to teach them about something or remind them, hey, this is what we have to do better?
Well, it's the start, right?
Yeah.
Like from after that point, the shots were probably 10-1, right? Like, so I think we probably outshot them like 60-12 for the game, but they I think they outshot us 6-1 in the first 5 minutes, and that's
crazy.
where they built their lead. So, it comes back to that. this is hockey. Anything can happen. You have to be ready to play, start on time. It's such a hockey cliche, but I mean, that's what happened there and Virginia Tech, quite frankly.
Yeah, fast-paced game. Well, we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more content from Over the Boards.
Welcome to the Boards!
We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.
Welcome back to Over the Boards. We just left off talking about Wake Forest and the away trip you guys had there. You guys had another away trip after that. You traveled to UNCW the following weekend. It was a makeup game from when the game got canceled from the snowstorm in January. The third intermission ended in a 2-2 tie, leading to OT and a shootout. I was going to ask, to kind of explain the OT shootout rules because I did some research and it ended in a 2-2 tie, but that's not really what the score was.
Yeah, it's kind of the same one Virginia
that's what
Tech
I was
came up.
thinking.
So it's the same exact thing. So
Yeah.
it's a 3-2 win for them in the grand scheme of things, but with the ACCHL not recognizing shootouts. And you see that in the NCAA ranks too,
Okay.
as some conferences recognize it, some don't. So it actually kind of provided a little bit of awkwardness at the end for UNCW. They, if they'd won the game outright, they would have won the division. So
Okay.
they celebrated like they had won the division after the shootout. But even if the shootouts count, like in the NHL, you get a shootout. If you lose at a shootout, you still get a point.
Okay.
So if shootouts were they still, the division stuff would have been the same. And of course, we would have gotten the point against Virginia Tech too. So the outcome would have been the same.
Right.
So there's a little bit of saltiness after that, but know the situation coming into it.
Yeah. Well, despite how this game ended, the Ice Pack left winning the Carolina East Division with 16 total points. And we touched on this last time. You talked about, goals scored and those points matter at the end, and that's kind of what happened in this game. So is that where this game kind of became crucial, even though they celebrated and left with the win? The points mattered
Well,
when it came down to it.
Right, it's the whole season, but I want to give a
Yeah.
lot of credit to UNCW. They're a team that we beat by 6 goals. Each of the 2 previous teams
Yeah.
we played them. They had a packed barn with a lot of energy. It really was a hostile place to play, to be honest with you. There were some lines crossed with their fans, majorly, from players jumping on the ice. Fans jumping on the ice.
I would have
just
never
stuff,
expected that.
Yeah, the stuff that just should not happen.
Yeah.
I actually want to give some credit to the refs who did a really good job of keeping safety involved. Give credit actually to a locker room, a rink staffer down there who did a good job of keeping UNCW fans out of our locker room area. But on the ice, UNCW played the best game I've seen them play. Their D zone was terrific. Their shot blocking was terrific. They had a great game plan for kind of their smaller rink. So a lot of credit to Coach Brower down there and what UNCW did in that game.
Absolutely. Last home game of the 2021-2022 season, you guys had West Virginia, and it was also senior night, and so you guys came out with a 6-0 win, of course. With it being the last home game, I just wanted to list off the seniors. You have Ferone, Davidson, Johnson, Fong, Todd, Robinson, Zarek, Johnson, and Johnson. That's a good list of people there.
Yeah, nine seniors.
Yeah.
So that's a lot, and that's a lot to replace. And
It is.
I think it's really worth mentioning, just if I think about the recent history of this program, last year's senior class and this year's senior class, to me, are really the 2 pivotal classes in this program's recent history. Last year's class really brought a lot of professionalism to the organization. Guys like Devin Halko and Ian O'Rourke, and so what they brought to the team. And Eric Todd was there, but Eric Todd came back for a 5th year. So it's kind of fun to have Eric Todd, kind of go through both years.
Yeah.
And then what this year's class is just an explosiveness on the ice. You have 3 100-point scorers. You have, and Colby Peterson probably would have been a 100-point scorer if he played all 4 years with us, right? You have Miles Ferone, just a steady guy on the back end. You have, Don Johnson, who is, sliding into stuff. You have Eric Todd's leadership, right? And Joey Davidson, his speed, his attitude, his work ethic. Alex Fong is someone that, he's one that really behind the scenes too. So we call, Alex Wong is going to be like a skills coach someday because, if there's kind of downtime or ice time or optional, he'll run skills and drill sets, like individual skills. So, a lot of people love to talk about, Robinson, Riley, and Parker, but that whole class as a collective has really been special for the program, and their accomplishments are huge. They have a chance at 100 wins as a class, which with a COVID shortened year is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Every year where we've had enough games to get 20 wins, they've gotten 20 wins. 3 divisional titles, 3 ACCHL titles and counting. We let the regular season title get away from us this year. Unbeaten against UNC, right? Like that's pretty important when you wear the red and white.
Yes.
So you think about, and just the elevation of the program, 2 nationals appearances, our highest ever nationals rank. Like all that has happened on their watch. So I mean, they're a pretty special class in what they've done on and off the ice. And we're going to miss them a lot, but also they're high character kids.
Yeah.
If you look at what they're doing next, Colby already has a job lined up. Riley is likely to end up at dental school, which I bet you, people didn't see coming. Riley is a dentist, right?
Yeah, wait, that didn't even click until you said that.
So I had, when he first told me too, I had to do a little bit of a double think, So, Parker's what he's done as a president, Miles right now has people coming left and right about engineering, construction, management stuff. So, I mean, it's a special class, and they've done a lot of big things, and we're going to miss them a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know that the night was really special, and you guys released a senior night video today that really just topped off how awesome that night was. And I feel like ever since we started doing this show and you and I started talking, you've always brought up how special that class, that group of people is, just because of how much they've accomplished. So I know that was probably a little bittersweet, but exciting.
It wasn't bittersweet yet because, there's still a lot of hockey to play for that group.
A lot,
and as I told that group, I'm going to say, kind of more my deeper personal thoughts about them once we get to St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's the goal of St. Louis, not to say it there, but to say what needs to be said truly about that class in St. Louis.
Good idea. How difficult do you think it'll be as a coach to lose 9 players, but then, not necessarily replacing them because you have a full roster of guys who are more than capable, but just trying to make sure that everyone kind of fills those roles next year?
Yeah, and you've already started to see that stepping up, right? You look at a guy like Garrett Arini. Garrett has had such a huge year for us. He's been over a point a game guy this year. It's had the puck on it at big spots, taking the penalty kill more. You look at a guy like, when Alex Robinson, Riley, and Parker came together, we called them the rookie line. Well, we have a new rookie line with Emery Oliver, Zach Robinson, so some things don't change as much, and Phil Bailey. So you're starting to see some of that emergence now. And I think one of the things that's important about, having a deep postseason run here is it gets them more games, more experience, right, to carry that over. So that's exciting. And you've seen sophomores like Jackson Cowan step up this year on D. So you're seeing more and more guys step up.
So now that was the last regular game of the season, looking into the postseason this weekend, you've guys got the ACCHL games this weekend in Winston-Salem. The first match is a quarterfinals game against UNCW. As a team this year, you guys have gone 2-1 against them. You beat them in the first 2 games, lost most recently. But, is there any sort of, I don't want to say like nerves, but like anticipation knowing that you're going to be seeing them again after you literally just saw them?
I think the guys are excited for it, right? Like, I think, I was about a month ago, I was a little bit worried about motivation coming to this, but I'm not anymore, right? And that's just a coach. You're always worried about motivation. You're always worried. But I think, to have a rematch against UNCW, especially what happened in, a week and a half ago, I think the guys are primed for it. I think they're motivated for it. It's almost like a little bit of a revenge tour, right now going into there, and who we likely could play. So I'm excited for that game on Friday night. I think it's going to be a really good game. And we saw our scoring come back against West Virginia. So if that can continue on, I actually got to give a little bit of shout out. Not a lot of people know this. We actually have a data analytics guy that works for us out of Massachusetts this year by the name of Jacob St. Germain. And he actually went back. He's put some really cool stuff for us together on the power play. Sometimes if you look at me, if you're watching a game and you see me checking my phone, he's sending a screenshot of some analytical thing that's happening within the game. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
You guys just keep stepping like it's
Yeah,
one thing,
it's really cool. But, one of the things we looked at and through his work was what have been our optimum lines this year. And we went to what our optimum lines were this year. And it was awesome. You saw Miller, by the way, talk about people that have stepped up this year. Junior Matt Miller is another one in his leadership. So Miller, Solomon, and Colby is our, that's an optimum line, but Todd wasn't there a lot when Colby was in. So Todd is a similar player to Colby on the analytics side. So slots that in, and that line was great. We put G back with Parker and Riley, and we saw the damage they did at Cincinnati. So just the analytical stuff really, I think it has us ready to go into this weekend.
Makes a difference, I'm sure.
It really does.
Yeah, even though mid-game you might get a stat that you didn't really want to see.
But you do want to see it, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So there's been some
helps.
times, especially in the power play, he'll send it like, I'm not going to give out state secrets here of when our power play is clicking, and it's like, yep, there it is.
Yeah.
And in fact, one game this year, I actually just took the phone and just put it in front of the guys, see, and they went out, and I didn't even have to say anything. They're like, oh, yeah.
Wow.
And that next play, they went out and scored a power play.
That's crazy.
So.
Very helpful.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. So assist to Jacob there.
Yes.
And he's coming down this weekend, so we'll finally meet him.
Perfect. You've never met him before?
Well, we brought him in on Zoom, but no,
okay.
Wade Minter, our public address announcer, linked us up with him.
Wow, go Jacob. We'll look forward to seeing you this weekend. So after the game against UNCW, where you guys will win, I'm manifesting it because I know it, you've got the semifinals on the 19th and then the championship on the 20th. What would it mean to the team to be ACCHL champions for the fourth time?
Well, it would tie us with Georgetown for the most overall. It's a school that's rejected me twice, so there we go. So personal there, but I'm in my 40s. Don't hang on to stuff at all. So, but anyway, but yeah, so one, it would tie us with Georgetown with the most overall ACCHL title. So that's something we're going after as a goal. Two, it would send out the seniors. They'd be the first senior class that would go 4 for 4.
Yeah.
And I think last year, it was kind of a weird one. Like it does feel like a little bit of an asterisk with it when it was only one game. But it's like if you won the one before it and you won the one after it, then it pretty much cements that one and validates that one to make it a true 4 for 4.
So after the championship games this weekend, you guys will look ahead to nationals, pending that you win. Is it if you win the tournament, you get to skip regionals, or is that not the question anymore?
The loss, we've been, so for those watching at home, you have 4 regions, 14 teams from each region go to the ACHA postseason. Of that, the top 2 teams in each region get to go skip right to nationals. We had been 1 or 2 all year in the region. Unfortunately, the Wake Forest loss took us out of that. We're just not, and Liberty being off this past weekend, we weren't there spot. We weren't going to be able to catch them, especially after for the computer rankings sees that as a tie with Wilmington, so we're not going to be able to catch Liberty. It would be a miracle, but I don't see that. So we'll have to go up to Columbus in regionals. We'll be the top seed up there, and we've went that route before. We went to nationals the first time a couple of years ago. So it is what it is. A lot of the teams in there, we have a good record against them, and so I'm confident we'll get through there and get back to St. Louis.
Plus, it'll be a great way for the 9 seniors that we talked about to go out. And even if, it doesn't go how it's supposed to, there's still more games that they could play together and as a team and enjoy.
And likely getting Colby back that weekend, too, who's been out with an injury for a while. So.
Okay, that's good. So that kind of wraps up everything, but, fun question. But
all right. What is it
this time it's not really a fun question. I had, talking about Valentine's Day. What did you do? Did you enjoy Valentine's Day? But we chatted prior, and we both actually dislike Valentine's Day a lot.
Yeah, not my favorite.
No.
It's kind of like amateur hour a little bit. And I'm lucky. I'm lucky in a lot of ways with my wife. But Mary Ellen is not a huge Valentine's Day person either, so we're kind of off the hook in that. So naturally, where was I on Valentine's Day? I was on the ice coaching my U10's daughter. So that's where we spent it on the rink. And what about you? How was your Valentine's Day?
Didn't do much. I had breakfast for dinner, and so that's
there you go.
That's all that's all I have to say about Valentine's Day.
I can't even remember what I had for dinner.
Doing good.
Yeah, there we go. So is that special?
Yes. Well, that was all the content we have for this episode of Over the Boards, but we will come back next time with more to talk about after the road to regionals and nationals. Just a reminder that Over the Boards is sponsored by Moe's, so give them a call at 919-999-3999.
That's our commercial alarm. We're supposed to wrap it up, so there you go.
Just don't forget to reach out to Moe's, or you can visit their website at 919.catering.moes.com. That'll wrap it up. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys next time, another episode of Over the Boards. Go Pack.
Go Pack.
Welcome to Moe's! We build it, you demolish it. The legendary Homewrecker Burrito. Come build yours today with 20+ fresh ingredients.
First online order, 10% off. Promo code ONLINE.